But at the end of the day, you lead people when you like talking to people and working with people. I never thought I was entitled to anything. I always thought that I need to earn whatever I get. And as long as you work to make sure that you earn what you get, you're going to make a difference. If you are waiting for someone to give it to you, you're never going to get anywhere.
How do you get people to buy into that bigger vision, like you said?
Well, it's situational. Not everybody's led the same way. My ego is not about being the big shot. My ego is getting people to buy off of what I'm doing.
How do you think sometimes we sell ourselves short?
You sell yourself short by
Guys, welcome back to the Leaders Talk podcast, right? The place where you can learn from CEOs, entrepreneurs, athletes, executives. And for what, right? Because nobody's here to waste time. For what? So that you can become a better leader, right? So that you could develop into a leader. Guys, today, I don't think there's a better leader to interview, right? Guys, CEO of Jackson Healthcare System. If you guys don't know, if you guys are not from Florida, one of, if not the largest hospital company, healthcare company, public hospital here in South Florida. Guys, it's my pleasure and honor to interview Carlos Migoya. My pleasure. So, I think leaders are not born, they're made, right? And I say that because before we get into the career aspect, before we get into the value that you guys are here for, I want to know a little bit more about your background. So I know that you were born in Cuba, right? And you came here at 11 years old. Let me ask you, going back to the leaders are not born, are made. Was there something in your life, elementary, like something where you just knew that you were born to be a leader? You knew you were going to be a CEO, like something along the line?
Not really. I have a slight disagreement with what you're saying. I think there's some of the traits you have to be born with, and some you find too as you grow.
Like what?
Leadership is about influencing. Salesmen are leaders. You're influencing people to buy what you're selling. From a leadership perspective, it's the same thing. You're trying to get people to do what you want them to do, to lead them to do what needs to be done. And to do that, you have to create a reason for them to do that. And frankly, yes, I've developed my leadership traits by a lot of different ways of really understanding who I am and going to different classes and understanding what's going on and understanding me and understanding the situational side of leadership. But at the end of the day, you can't be a leader if you don't like people. You can't be a leader if all you're going to be doing is spending your entire time on a computer analyzing things or doing things without interacting with other people. You lead people when you like talking to people and working with people. That's it. That's an inner trait that you have to have. If you don't want to be dealing with other people, it's tough to lead them.
That's interesting that you say that, because I asked this question. I forgot who I asked it to, but I said that to be a leader, you not only have to lead others, but you have to lead yourself ultimately, because people only follow somebody, I believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, if you know where you're going, meaning you have to have a direction. You have to know where the company's going. You have to know the bigger vision with that. How do you get people to buy into that bigger vision, like you said?
Well, it's situational. Not everybody's led the same way. It's not necessarily, my ego is not about being the big shot. My ego is getting people to buy off of what I'm doing, even if they think it's their own idea. Sometimes you lead people by convincing them that they're doing it because they think it's the right thing to do, not because you think it's the right thing to do. So it depends on the individual and how you need to lead those people. That's why it's called situational leadership. And everybody's different.
Situational leadership. I haven't heard that before.
Well, it's one of those leadership traits and because if you're dealing with a lot of different people, not everybody's the same.
Yeah. And to be specific, I saw an article on an interview that you did. I think it was 2018, 2019, that it said 12,000 employees. I'm going to say it's well over 12,000 employees you guys have now.
I've got 15.
15,000 people. Guys, that's a lot of people. But another thing that I wanted to talk about, going back to you being born in Cuba, you coming here at 11 years old. I'm Cuban. I wasn't born there, but family's Cuban. They were born there. One of the things that I see that's most common, not in all Cubans, but what I've noticed is that a limiting belief mindset. I don't know if believe or what? A limiting belief mindset. I'm going to explain it. growing up, I had so many family members, so many people that I knew that were Cuban that were like, hey, just play it safe. Like, oye, mío, tú no necesitas hacer una diferente, go to school, do this, and that's all. Like, don't do anything risky. Like, and I've always questioned that because obviously Cuba is a communist country. People flee from there for opportunity. You are not only, I think, the top 1% of Cubans, Hispanics, but the top 1% in general. You became a CEO. You're very successful now. Why do you think it is, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that some Cubans have that mindset?
Well, yeah, I don't think, I think you're generalizing it wrong. With my parents were not that way at all.
No. I just want to.
My parents were the opposite. My mother specifically,
Okay.
somebody that you need to do as much as you can. You need to prove yourself as best you can. And frankly, when I started working in Miami,
Mm-hmm.
in the largest bank in the state of Florida at the time, 50 years ago, and there was a lot back then. Cubans were not very highly thought of. And my boss at first wouldn't even talk to me because I was Cuban, and my attitude was, "I'm going to prove to you I'm better than you are." That's what my mental attitude. I never said that. Turned out that he ended up working for me. What's interesting was that at one point he had 5 kids, 3 of them married Cubans, and I said to him, "John, how's it feel to have Cuban grandchildren?" "Oh, I love my Cuban grandchildren." I said, "But you hated Cubans." "I've never hated Cubans, but it's a matter of mindset." He thought, he was biased at the beginning towards Cubans, and I proved to him he needed me for a few of the things that I'm not really interested right now to talk about. But basically, I had an attitude, and I disagree with it. I think a lot of times Cubans have a mentality, if anything, that we're better than other people, and sometimes it goes to our downside. And in my case, I used it from the standpoint of how to improve myself to show what I could do.
Yeah, and I'm happy that you said that because by no means I meant to generalize it at all. I want to be very specific. I said that because a lot of people I grew up around, that doesn't mean that I'm generalizing at all, but I say that because, like you said, I do think people downplay. It doesn't have to be just a person, but Hispanics in general. I do think that, and I believe that's a bigger vision that I have, that to talk about that, because there is a lot of very successful.
You can talk about the minority mentality, and frankly, I think a lot of times minorities feel like you were entitled to things.
Mm-hmm.
I never thought I was entitled to anything. I always thought that I need to earn whatever I get. And as long as you work to make sure that you earn what you get, you're going to make a difference. If you are waiting for someone to give it to you, you're never going to get anywhere. So that's why I don't see that as playing it safe. I think I look at it the other way. I've always said I never compromise my principles. I never worked for a company or never did something that I disagreed with. And if they fire me for doing it, so be it. But my principles are very important to me. So I always make sure that I stay true to my principles. That was always my compass in my work life.
Can I ask you that strong sense of morality, a strong sense of principles that you're going to stay true to that no matter what? Is that something you learned from your parents?
To a certain degree. I also learned that from a couple of my mentors. One of the very senior guys at the bank, way back that they started mentoring me, said to me, you're in the banking business, you're going to be tempted because there's a lot of money and people are going to try to take advantage of you by, basically allowing you to do something or maybe it's wrong. And he said, but if you're ever going to steal, make sure you steal enough money that you can get away with it, number one, and that you never need to do it again. So you got to do it on the millions and millions of dollars. Otherwise, you're going to go to jail. And frankly, everybody's going to know you're a crook, and that's a bad thing.
That was the advice that you were given.
Yeah, that was the advice that I was given. And frankly, my strategy from a principal standpoint is I'm broad enough to say that I never took a dime. I never felt like I was in any way, shape, or form influenced by money to do something that I didn't believe in doing. And for that reason, I always had my head high. So, and I continue to do so.
I really like that because the people that I've interviewed, the people that I've studied, once you get to the position of, I think it was, you know who Patrick Bet-David is?
No, I don't.
He ran a big insurance company, sold it for like $500 million. Now does a podcast, all that stuff, but he talks about something. You know who a leader is, you know who a person is once they make money. Okay, now you make money. Okay, cool. What do you do after? Because if money is just your objective, just your goal, then that's it. Once you get to it, then what else? And I think that's very, like, I want to highlight that you said that money was never the total outcome. Like, obviously everybody needs money. That's a purpose, but it's not the end goal.
Well, the money, you keep score by money, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're successful because you have more or less money. You're successful when you feel good about what you're doing.
Clip that. That was really good. Let me ask you, going into your career, you 35 years at Wachovia now, it was brought up by Wells Fargo, right?
Yeah.
Brought up by Wells Fargo. For those of you that don't remember Wachovia, a lot of our audience is like 18, 19, 20, 21. But
now you're rubbing me the off way. You call me an old guy, big short.
No. But you spent 35 years there. It's very impressive. Regional president. Now, 35 years there, most people will look at you and say, hold up, you spent 35 years there. Why would you leave that? You had a successful career, and then you ended up, well, you worked for the city of Miami for like 10 months, right?
Yeah, but I didn't, I did that for free.
For free. But then you became the CEO of Jackson, right? What is it that, like, the light bulb or something that went off that you were like, hold up, I am going to take this job to become a CEO?
Well, first of all, when I was at the bank, I never intended to be there for 35 years. I thought I was going to be there for 2 years. And somehow that 2 years became 35. That's how it happened.
It went by quick.
It was, and frankly, part of what had happened was I ended up getting close to the people I was working with. I liked the people I was working with, and I had opportunities to go elsewhere. And to me, even though it was, in some cases, it was being offered more money, I didn't go with the money because I liked what I was doing. And that's how I ended up for 35 years. And frankly, when the merger between Wachovia and Wells Fargo happened, I thought I was done. I thought I'd never go back to work, or at least a formal 9-to-5 job. Mm-hmm. So I left with the intent of never going back to work. And then the city of Miami ended up having financial troubles. It was back in 2010 when the real estate values had dropped, financial crisis and all that other stuff. And so I took the job with the idea of helping turn the city around, which we did. And then Jackson got in trouble. I didn't take this from a career perspective. I took this job pretty much like the bank and said, I'm going to be here for 2-3 years, turn around and leave. And here I am 13 years later. My retirement job has become longer term than a lot of other people. And I've been around as a CEO of a healthcare system longer than the average tenure of a CEO for a healthcare system.
I was talking with Jennifer off camera that this is not the normal for you to stay around for 13 years because of turnover rates and almost any company.
Abnormal? Is that what you're saying?
I think that's good. You don't want to be normal, right? I wouldn't want to be normal.
I agree.
I don't want any of you guys to be normal.
I'm with you.
But it's not normal there's such a high turnover rate, especially in the executive, like there's such a high turnover rate, at least that I've seen, like not generalizing, but it's typical.
No, and frankly, you're right. The average tenure of a CEO in just about any major company now, it's between 5 and 7 years. I came from a different environment completely. I believe that the most success of a CEO is having you leave a replacement behind you that continues to grow the company successfully. It's not what you do, but what you do in picking the right individual to make sure that the individual continues to grow the company.
That requires you to be very selfless, because some people don't know how to walk away, especially when you're CEO and founder. It's very hard to talk about that.
The first thing you need to be doing is always working on your succession plan. Make sure that you're not in any job forever.
Yeah.
If nothing else, you're going to die. And nobody's immortal. You will die eventually. We all do. And therefore, you need to make sure you have the right successor for all the things that you worked on to continue to succeed and continue to grow what you're doing, and having the right philosophy. So I think succession planning is critical for any successful CEO.
So last question, because I know obviously your time is tight. I saw an interview that you had. I remember the exact person it was with, but you said this, and I want to quote it word for word. You were asked like your biggest career advice, and you said, don't sell yourself short. Now, you didn't really speak more on that, but I want to ask, at least from my perspective, when you look at my generation, right? 18, 20, 25, people in their 20s, how do you think sometimes we sell ourselves short?
You sell yourself short by establishing a ceiling of what you think you can do. If you just get to what you think you can do, and you don't have any additional aspirations, you sold yourself short. The idea is you got to keep working on what you're doing and try to every day develop yourself, understand who you are, how you can grow, and how you continue to grow to continue to be more successful. And you never know what you're going to be able to do. You today, you're 18 years old, right?
Yeah.
You know what you're going to look like when you're 50, 55?
Hopefully in good looking, hopefully in shape.
Well, yeah, shape would be one. Call me old, out of shape. You notice it?
What? I'm not talking about you.
I'm telling you, man. How to win friends and influence people.
Oh, that book is really good.
Anyway, but seriously, the idea, it's not just the physical side. I'm talking about what you can do. And frankly, if you think you're going to be able to do something and you attain that by the time you're 35, what are you going to do the rest of the time? You're going to stay doing what you're doing? Or you're going to try to continue to do better? So I think you said it. It's important. It's not about leading yourself. It's about understanding yourself. And how do you grow what you do? And how do you continue to improve in everything you do to make sure that you maximize whatever you can do? And that's selling yourself right and not selling yourself short.
Wow. I think that had to be one of the most powerful ways to end it, guys. If you made it to the end, I'm going to link everything. I'm going to link the foundation, the website, your biography, everything, so you guys can check out. Because obviously, not even 3 hours of interviewing Carlos can do enough justice for you guys could see, so you guys can really understand his story, guys. I highly encourage you to check it out. I'm going to link everything in the description. But more than that, I want to take away the bigger lesson of this interview. Don't sell yourself short, right? There was a quote that said, aim for the moon, and even if you miss, you'll be amongst the stars. Really, it's supposed to be the opposite if you want to be scientific, but you understand what the point is, right? Aim further than what you think you could achieve, right? Because if your goals are too achievable, then it's like, then what? Then you're not growing.
But I'll give you a different way about that. When you're running a marathon, you're not aiming for the 26 miles. You're aiming for a mile at a time.
A mile at a time.
Because otherwise you never get there.
A mile at a time, guys. Whatever your mile that you're at right now, I hope this interview served you to get to the next one. That was pretty good, right? Guys, seriously, thank you so much for making it to the end. If you did, please subscribe. Check out the clips on the Instagram, and I'm going to link everything down below. Anything else you want to leave off on?
Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you guys for making it to the end, and I'll see you on the next one.